What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So I got another treat for you. The myth, the man, the legend. I actually got that right. Good old LucidVerse, aka Anthony. Appreciate you coming back on, Anthony.
Thanks for having me. I like
Um,
the man, the myth, the legend, the myth first. Like I like that a lot more. I do like that.
um, okay, so yeah, Lucid.
Yeah.
Since you've been on, I think Lucid has gone down.
Nice.
Roughly a good, I think it was hovering around the $3 range last time you were on, so probably a good 20 something percent. Recovered slightly today, but what is your thoughts on Lucid? It doesn't have to be specific to Lucid, but just
Mm.
EVs in general. What's your current thoughts on the economy and what's it going to translate to?
A lot of what I see in the EV market, like I don't look at the stock prices at all for any of the EV companies or renewable energy companies, but I do see it as, you know, they are obviously this very long-term investments and they're very long-term companies. So, I mean, you can go to Tesla or Neo or any of the or Lucid even. I mean, a lot of these companies are just going to continue to pump out news as such, but other than that, I think we have a long way to go from a significant infrastructure to be built up for Lucid as well, like how Tesla did with their superchargers and everything. Like, I think it's just going to take a long time, but I'm pro green, I'm pro EV, so I feel like it's good. Investing side of it, I have no idea how to play the market. It's just now we just wait and see what companies are the ones that the market kind of values better than the other ones. So wait and see game. What about you?
And in case you guys do not know who Anthony is,
Yeah.
he's like an OG Lucid investor and a true Lucid investor. So that's where you kind of you do like your initial due diligence, you see what you like, you invest accordingly, and then essentially close your eyes
Yeah.
and just wait for that to play out your plan.
The Lucid investment did not go the way that it I wanted it to. I mean, a lot of the growth industry stocks, but you know, you really learn a lot of lessons when you put a lot of money into a company that does not do necessarily well, especially on your research of the companies and your due diligence. And I just think for anybody out there that I don't want to make the same mistake that I did. Is just, you know, there none of these the word of people and the ownership of these companies, like you got to take everything they say with a grain of salt, because a lot of times, they are just promoting the company. And I think that um, the word of mouth of the owners does not mean as much as I thought it would. Like Peter Rollins, the promises that Lucid did make, or not just Lucid, but any company that, kind of grows lower than expectation. I just think, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Not that I did just ever. I just think that Lucid was one of those companies that I was shooting for the moon or the stars, and I thought it was a gem, and so did other people. But like, I'm just in my experience, and I think that Lucid has an opportunity to be a good company in the future, but their stock price has completely gone off a cliff. I mean, I was buying it in the 20s. The first time I bought it was $9. I mean, it doesn't look as bad as the 20s, but I wish I would have stopped buying it there. I mean, $3, 250. It's probably a good buying price now if you haven't bought in, but at our value where we were buying it, it just doesn't make much sense to continue to put money in for me into this company. But the EV market is going to explode one day. It's just kind of inevitable. We just don't know what companies are going to do that. I mean, Tesla definitely is. I know there's a bunch of news out right now. I mean, people are getting their Cybertrucks. It's cool. I think I saw Katy Perry post a picture of hers too, and I thought it was funny because I think her ex-boyfriend, like Orlando Bloom, was in a Lucid once. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
And yeah, so unrelated to what I
Mhm.
was just about to bring up, but what's up with Katy Perry? I somehow she's just floating around all around Twitter. Like I commented on one of her things, I'm like, "You're still alive? I did not know you were alive." Like,
Yeah,
and then maybe I just commented. Now I'm seeing like 50 things of her, but yeah, it's very weird that you bring up Katy Perry.
that
If
is
I
weird.
if I didn't know any better, you were like
I'm the
Siri
algorithm.
or something. You're listening. You're
That
listening
is
to,
funny.
but No, I agree. A lot of EVs, their CEOs have been pumping. I feel like Lucid is definitely polar opposite. They are like, I feel people just give us some rumor, just something like you just speak up because I feel like Lucid has turned its back on a lot of their most innovative ideas, such as ESS, lower price vehicle, and
Mm-hmm.
clearly we see what happened to Tesla with their earnings. And it appreciates that innovation, even though I don't know if you saw Tesla earnings, their metrics, they missed like a crazy
Really?
person. Any other circumstance, they'd be selling off. But because they stated what the market wants, people seem to be forgiving that. So
Wow.
I feel like Lucid does have got a lot of good opportunity, and I agree that if you have a long-term mentality, like these prices are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's EVs. I agree with you. Like EVs did not go how I planned it either. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that there would be a continuation of momentum, and it just fizzled out.
Yeah, like in all honesty, we're looking at Lucid as like a penny stock now. Um, $1 to $5. I mean, it's just kind of insane a little bit how the hype just died down in a bunch of different companies. But like Palantir's kind of held on a little bit. Um, they're probably one of the only special purpose acquisition companies that kind of surpassed the threshold of starting to get institutional ownership, because it started with Lucid, but I think it was just like the PIF. So other than that, um, it didn't really get the backing we thought it was going to get. And then there was Apple rumors. I mean, Peter Rollins did the Apple thing. I did the article. I mean, when you were talking about there needs to be more rumors, I just stopped writing articles about Lucid, and I think it tanked the stock price a bit. I wish I would have never started, but I think I helped some people out in the beginning with their options on accident. But yeah, nobody writes articles about these companies anymore. Yeah, it's mainly just like Tesla and um, I I mean, they it's Elon Musk. We all see how marketable he is, and everything he puts his name on, it pretty much does incredible. It's really hard to compete with that guy. And I know a lot of the one of the reasons I invested so highly, or my conviction was so high into Lucid, was because of their management that they built, their leadership team. I mean, I would do videos and videos on this, like Apple, Intel, Tesla executives or their former executives, they all went to Lucid. So it was a little surprising that they didn't perform better. But there are, I don't really know any because I'm not like focused on the market as much anymore. I just kind of like set and forget. But there are so many good opportunities any market. It's just Lucid necessarily wasn't at the time, but now it might even be. But again, I'm not buying and I'm not suggesting anybody to buy any of the growth companies. But there is going to be a time where Kathy Wood starts making money again, and not just like Lucid. I don't know if she has Lucid, but like Kathy Wood doesn't normally, like Palantir or Sofi, like she doesn't normally not make money. So like the fact that she wasn't making money for all those times and her ARK ETFs were not doing well, I just feel like it's bound to cycle one day
Eventually, I feel like there's a
eventually.
lot of those out of box gurus that have been maybe they're just early in the
Mhm.
market, but yeah, forecasting Bitcoin crazy numbers and yeah, I don't know. Lucid is one of those things, and I agree with you. The only problem with Lucid right now is that I feel like it's not really catching the interest of new investors. Like me and you, many others who have been watching and on like on my channel, like they're OGs. They're like from 2021, 2022 and whatever. But I kind of was thinking as you were speaking, it's like what is Lucid? Like if I was looking for stocks right now, screening through stuff, if I came across Lucid, would I be interested in buying? And as bad as it sounds, I feel like it would be a no, just merely based on the technicals of their balance sheet and like just their lack of deliveries. So I don't know. Like I feel like Lucid isn't doing enough to really make themselves known. And like a lot of the, like, for instance, Tesla, Palantir, like every company that you've actually mentioned so far in this chat. So Sofi, Anthony Notto, Alex Karp, no, yeah, Palantir Alex, right?
Hmm.
And then Elon, all are very vocal CEOs. And I feel like that you need to somehow entice people to come in and
Yeah,
be loud. But you have to, at the same time, like, you need to back your boldness with results. So
yeah.
one thing actually I wanted to pick your brain about. So I just did a Lucid video, whatever, a little bit ago. And what is your thoughts on them being, so I think like a week ago as well, I did the top 5 EV stocks, heavily shorted EV stocks. Lucid was number 1. Right
Hmm.
now, 32.55% of the free float is being shorted. What's your take on that?
It so whenever we were talking about Lucid when it was like in the 30s or something, the key words that everybody was always asking when there were higher shorts was just a short squeeze, or when the float was higher, it was like a short squeeze. But I have absolutely no idea on the options activity. But it's just like always weird how even when Lucid was going down, it was always getting very high buys or sells. Like it wasn't just an ordinary stock. It really did. It moved differently than the stocks that I was used to. That's why it was so hard to predict where it was going. Like it was such an odd stock. It wasn't like an Amazon. It wasn't like a Nvidia. It was like very weird. Anything could have pushed it over the edge. I mean, the articles that were coming out every day, it was like pushing the stock price up and down. It was very weird. But I don't know if Lucid even has enough hype at this point to do a short squeeze or have a short squeeze. I think bettors are just continuing to bet that Lucid is going to go down because for the last 3 years it has. Um, I don't necessarily know what that will entail, though. I just think it's a high number in my
Do
opinion.
you think someone's trying to target Lucid, like, or maybe the PIF?
I think Lucid got hit really hard from when it was like 60 to 20 in a very short period of time. And then, I mean, it was Adam Jonas or something like that. Um, there was just, I mean, he ended up being right, but there was just so many price targets that were affecting Lucid or um, things that were coming out that were affecting Lucid, like Polestar, even them coming. It was such a volatile stock. It did not move correctly. Like in hindsight, it makes sense why it fell because there was just no support anywhere. I mean, I didn't know anything I was doing, and I became LucidVerse. Like I should have known. Like I had never talked to anybody in the industry or like company except for one person, and like I should have seen it coming with that, but it is it's if anything, it's like an altcoin now. You kind of like buy in to buy EV, but you don't really buy Lucid at this point. You just like hope that there's a run, and it's like you want ownership in that. But I don't think you would buy the company as in you're putting 6 figures into this company because you think it's going to be enormous. Like I think that was the hope before, but now it's just you need to slash your expectations. And if you want to buy this, that's great, but you shouldn't be. You're putting like 2% of your portfolio in, like at most. Like this is not like an Amazon, Apple. Like it is a very high risk stock. One of the reasons that I liked Lucid so much is because like whatever it was, there was a connection with Apple, and I don't know if Lucid wanted that connection with Apple, but even you know there was a connection at one point. So I just feel like that was I wanted them with a strong company that actually knew what they were doing, and I thought the leadership team was going to
You
make
want to know something fun?
yeah.
So I've been made aware that back in the day, you are correct that there was some linkage. I
Hmm.
guess Apple did approach Lucid just Apple was demanding too much.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's a very credible source told me that. So it's interesting. But whether we
Yeah.
hear that from Lucid itself, and plus that was already a couple of years have passed since then.
Mhm.
So you were right that there was some linkage.
When I wrote that article, there was some smoke, and when what you're told to do when you're reporting, it's like when there's smoke, there's sometimes fire. So when I did the Apple to Lucid, like I was betting on that there could be like a partnership within like 6 months to a year, and that would like obviously help out the stock price and whatever it was. But I thought, and I didn't have any information. It was just like there was a lot of people talking about it, and a lot of people that had like information that was pretty cool on Lucid. Like they knew that they were trying to grow. Like they were high on the energy storage system and all that. So it was like people that really liked Lucid were talking about it, and I was just like, wow, this is interesting. But the fact that you say that there was a connection, it is pretty cool. I wish it would have happened. I think it would have helped out a lot. I mean, it could have went to where we thought it would if it had Apple, but it is interesting that they were interested in a partnership. And I wonder what Apple was looking for. Were they just trying to acquire that, or did they like? Interesting.
Well, I'm pretty sure at this stage they can just buy them with chump
Yeah,
change, their lunch money. But
can do that.
I think they were wanting Lucid's tech and probably just show them the schematics and
Mhm.
say, hey, can you build us this? And I think it's kind of all linked, right? Because I think initially it was just the fact that Apple was demanding too much. And this was when the anticipation that Lucid could still produce, I think they were supposed to do, was it 49,000 this year? No,
Mhm.
a little bit more, I think 79 or something like that, something very high. So forecast of 9,000 is definitely not no bueno, but I think maybe that also turned them off. I wasn't really made aware of that kind of deficiency, but speaking out loud, maybe remember that SEC filing or that SEC investigation that started in Q1 2022?
Yeah,
That was done
that
by
was
a
a
lot
big
of
deal.
the, like, Morgan Stanley, a lot of the initial investors that were told certain numbers on deliveries, and those didn't
Mhm.
come to fruition. Maybe those are the same individuals that are shorting Lucid, because I see right now, I have it up, but there's a cost to borrow minimum is negative. So in order for that to be negative, that means there's a broker out there physically paying people to short Lucid.
Yeah,
Kind of a good deal. Like, I'm sure some people will sign up, but it's, yeah,
and
they're
yeah,
pay. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I feel like Lucid did have a lot of good high expectations, like when you were got in, and now it
Mhm.
seems like it wants to be a meme stock. Like, I don't know. It's just so many different. It's like a hybrid stock, right? Like
Yeah,
they have a fundamental well, I wouldn't say a good. They have operations that's commencing, but you have just shorts just messing around with it. I don't, it's Lucid is a like a love-hate relationship.
yeah, it's abusive for sure. um,
But you see everyone bleeding. Like Polestar's down at, like, what's Polestar at right now? Polestar at the time of doing this video, $1.27. And I remember when you were looking at it, it was like 10, 11. One sec.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Okay. Yeah, it's my like headphone died for some reason, even though I just put them on the charger. So this one might die, but I might have to charge, or I'm charging the other one currently.
Oh yeah, it's all good. I'm doing the exact same right here. So
No,
yeah,
but
so what has caught your interest, even aside from EVs, which has been crazy, but what catches your interest?
honestly, like I like SoFi still, and I like Palantir. Like, even regardless of the stock price, like what Lucid did or what SoFi did or Palantir, like if we're just talking about like companies that you would be excited to like just working for, like if you were excited to work for, then they gave you stock options because they're like, wow, I would still think that getting in right now without having to just like endure what I had to endure with those companies, I would be excited about the opportunity of working for any three of those companies, getting the stock options. However, at this point, I feel like you wouldn't necessarily get me to buy Lucid, but I would buy the other two. I would even buy DNA in all honesty. I just feel like I haven't completely been out of those companies. Whereas for Lucid, it's more of a, I think my expectations were way too high, and Lucid could get to 30, but at that point, like I'm getting my money back, which is great, like more than my money back. But I'm just saying, like, I know other people had share prices of $40, oh, like whatever. Like, I think there is a real opportunity in SoFi and Palantir. Obviously, like I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of money into them, but I think they are interesting companies to see because now I think SoFi is now the partner of the NBA or the NBA's official bank. Like that is pretty cool. And during the play-in tournament, all I saw was SoFi branding. Like that is what we needed with Lucid. Like, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I knew that was coming. That's why I just needed a little extra juice. Yeah, like,
But no, I get your point. Lucid, they had a lot of good opportunity, and I don't think you're at fault. It had nothing to do with you choosing the wrong stock, because I think initially Lucid, it comes down to what they promised and what we invested based on. Because I did pull it up. I think I said 79. It was forecasted to produce 90,000 vehicles this year.
wow. Yeah.
They're doing 9.
And that
So
was a lot of the gravity too. I believe they're starting production 2020 like 3 on the gravity, and then they pushed it back.
was supposed to, yeah, they were supposed to produce 12,000 vehicles or 12,000 gravities in 2023.
Mhm.
And yeah, so right now we're almost halfway through 2024 and haven't started the gravity. I think it's estimated to be in August. Rumors, of course. But I don't think you weren't wrong about Lucid. It's just you invested based on a certain pretenses and they fell through.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. That's the bad thing about investing in a startup early. Whereas I completely agree, SoFi had a very good foundation, and what they did was so obviously the SPAC, and then they bought a pre-existing bank, right? So then that way they were a official chartered bank,
Yeah,
and
they got Bank
so
Charter. That was huge.
yeah, huge. So they built what they needed to do, whereas Lucid, um, it's hard to really compare fintech to an EV, but at the same time, like Lucid could have done things differently to really. It's just every video I've ever done, and I talk on CEOs, I always like to make a point of bringing up Anthony Notto. It comes down to that guy is a boss, and he is one of the very few CEOs out there that have actually put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
And regrettably, Peter has never actually bought shares. Transaction code P, of course, just for some people might say, hey, he actually did get some shares. He was awarded everything and never actually purchased using his own money. So,
and he's only been subtracting because of tax purposes, but they're still subtracting.
Yeah. So actually a weird kind of circumstance, if you want to think about it, you've actually bought more than Peter.
Yeah. Everybody watching probably. That's actually really interesting. But I do like Anthony Notto. I mean, it's been really cool to see how easily like he gets YouTubers to promote at SoFi for free. I mean, the Mr. Beast tag or hide and go seek at the SoFi Stadium, that was like 600 million subscribers combined at that time, which I mean now it would be like 1 billion subscribers. But they had so many incredible people in that building at one time, and so many millions of people got to see that. We just wanted a Super Bowl ad to get out to like 4 million people, like 8 to 12 to 16 million people. Like there were 100 million views just on the Mr. Beast channel for that tag or hide and go seek. Like that was just on his channel. So like SoFi did it so correctly, and they had the right person. Anthony Notto was the COO of CFO and COO like slash of Twitter and NFL. I don't know which one he was of which. I think he was the COO of Twitter and CFO of the NFL, but those are huge positions. He knew what he was doing. Peter Rollins, I thought, was going to do the exact same because he was bringing the people like that. Like I see like a CEO or like a founder of the company as a coach or somebody that's in the ownership or general manager of like your professional team, and to build your base should be to bring the best people from the organizations that you want to beat. And he was doing that exact thing. Everything was going in the right place. It just didn't all connect. And yeah, the expectations were high on all. I'm talking about like a ton of different industry like companies right now, because like Lucid was one of them, but there were so many different companies that were bringing their best people in, and it just didn't work out. Like 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧, he got screwed over because of Clover Health. Do you remember that? Like Clover Health was like IPO B or C, and SoFi was IPO E, and I don't necessarily remember what happened, but all I remember is there was a lawsuit for Clover Health because they paid him to take the SPAC, and it was a little more than it should have been, and he took more stocks. So this is there was a public filing and everything, but like that was one of the red flags on the special purpose acquisition companies, and it kind of happened like with Nikola Motors as well. Like that went with Vector, the same people that took over Rocket Labs. Like the special purpose acquisition companies on paper were blank check. Like that was a really good idea. Get these companies public for less money. Like in theory, it was a good idea. However, there was less rules and regulations that you had to go through for you to get to the open market. So it was ruining public investors like you and me. And like it would just, there was not as much disclosure needed. So even though Lucid had those lawsuits, I'm not really sure if like they broke as many rules as people thought, because it wasn't a traditional IPO. Like they could just kind of say whatever they wanted. And I think it did harm people, but it was actually smart what they did. It just, I didn't know because I wasn't a part of the company. So, didn't end up well on the stock thing or financially. But one of the questions that I've always had for you, financial journey, is just like Lucid was one of my biggest stock market mistakes. Like, what is one of the biggest mistakes that you've made as like a financial analyst or educator, like that taught you the information of where you are today on how to manage money? Because a lot of what the stock market is just managing your own portfolio or someone else doing it, but just managing money. Even if it's $100 or $100,000, you have to learn how to manage that. So what was your biggest mistake that you had to get through?
I made plenty of mistakes, but the weird thing is, even though I'm on YouTube, I typically don't watch other YouTubers. The only one I used to watch on occasion was 𝗪𝗓𝗓𝗓 or whatever his name is. And my
Financial
biggest
education.
yeah, and so my biggest mistake was listening to someone. So no different than anyone watching this. Like, make sure you guys always do your own due diligence. Do not trust anything I say, anyone says. Like, I tried to be a straight arrow, so I'll tell you good, bad, and the ugly, but still double check everything, because he was all into this company, Tattooed Chef.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The Meet Kevin stuff, the
Yeah.
debacle.
So ultimately, I was like, yeah, you know what? I kind of understand his rationale. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to look. And I found out a company that had better metrics than what essentially Tattooed Chef. And that was a very good food company. I think it was ticker VERY, I believe.
On the
And
OTC, I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it eventually got knocked down to OTC, but I invested in them with kind of piggybacking off of someone's mentality, and that was probably my worst. It went belly up. It went bankrupt, and it was just the last 3 months. That's where it really escalated. It was like it just tanked. So I think my thing was I no matter what I see anywhere or whatever analyst is saying, I invest based on my own intuition now. I know that kind of sounds like it's like, oh, that's common sense, but I know why. I had a lot of high trust, not trust, but respect for that Jeremy guy, because he kind of came off as like he knew what he was talking about. And yeah, I think that was my biggest mistake. That's actually the only company I've ever held that went belly up completely. So yeah, that one was definitely a big thing. And plus, I think I kind of later found out that any company that likes to use, for instance, YouTubers or whatever to market, I feel like that's also I found that I learned to kind of avoid.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you're aware, there's this company, LQR, so Liquor House. It's kind of popped out last year, August, give or take. And I started to like it was very popular. A lot of retail loved it. And I was looking through some of the filings, and it's like paying tons of marketing companies. And yeah, no doubt they are down. Yeah, let's pull them up for a second. So LQR over this last just 2024 down 61%. But they did a reverse stock split, so they started at like $200 and post or pre-reverse stock split, and now they're at $1 exactly.
Wow.
So any company I think that uses influencers to try to get their name out is just probably one of the biggest red flags as well.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents.
No, that's great advice. I actually got burned by two other YouTubers as well before I started, talking on YouTube. Like I didn't realize they've now had videos where they apologize. I know two of them. One was like Jack Investing, and I know like so many people went after him, and I never would go after him. Like it's one of those things where he did a video and he was like, I took too many sponsored stock ads. And it makes a lot of sense when they're giving, these YouTubers so much money. Like it's quadruple. I mean, way more than that than what you're getting with ad revenue, well, from YouTube. So they were enticing these YouTubers to, I mean, this is probably, if it isn't already, like a Netflix documentary. Like so many YouTubers or people in the public eye were taking these like stock promotions, and it definitely like affected people. So like I know 3 people or something got arrested. I know they were in like a cohort. This was like a couple of years ago, but there was these like people that were just promoting. They call them, I think it was like the crypto scammers, but they were just promoting these crypto altcoins that nobody had heard of, and then they would just like die down. And I know the SEC or somebody like flagged them, and they had to go to court and stuff. But I mean, this stuff happened a lot, and that's really good advice that you're telling people, that like you have to do your own due diligence on anything you invest in and anything you put your money in, and hopefully you put your money into things that you understand, especially even more than the people talking about it, because this is your money. And a lot of times, like, there are people talking online that have like money invested into these companies, so they're going to be a little biased. So that is really good advice.
Yeah.
And that could be like a YouTube short, or like best ways to avoid. And then just that, like that was really good.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things that I get it. Like even I don't know with me because I seem to be somewhat bearish sometimes on some stocks. Um, but yeah, you build these like this sense of trust with
Mhm.
these individuals, and it's like all of a sudden they're starting to talk on like I don't know Polster, or like it's just some random EVE or any stock, and it's like oh maybe I'll look at that. It's just like it probably burns a lot of people,
Yeah,
and yeah, I completely agree. I'm surprised the SEC hasn't really started to look at sponsored um, financial. Like that's kind of it's a gray area.
yeah,
Like, of course, FTX, those ones got like front page because that was a lot of money. But even very good food company, for instance, which Jeremy did do a video on. So they paid influencers to cover their content, right? I think that was a very big. I wish I would have known that back then. So if you are new to investing, just take a look at sponsor stuff. You can always tell um, YouTubers are supposed to disclose it, and so yeah. What about you?
yeah. That's
What's
good.
your big? Are you gonna say Lucid? Is Lucid your biggest
Well, yeah,
mistake?
yeah, yeah. I think a Lucid probably. Um, when I was first on the stock market, like I had invested like $5,000 into ACB, and like I was a fresh or no, I was a sophomore in college. It was like 2018. It was my first stock I had ever looked at, or my college roommate was like, "Hey, you have to buy this." Well, no, not. It was my first time making a large purchase of a stock. Like $5,000 at that time was a large stock purchase for me. It was like my first time not just putting like $100 or like $10 or $25 like here and there, but like $5,000. Like I knew ACB in my head was going to be like enormous, and it was just like once federal legalization of like marijuana like would go viral or would you know legalize, a lot of the cannabis companies like ACB or CGC canopy growth, they would go up, but that really didn't happen. And then there was this company called Canna Holdings, and Canna Holdings went to like 60 cents to like $3 once, and I held the whole time from it. But then like they said that they were like supplying like black market drug dealers weed. And I do remember like it got like stripped, it got penalized, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And all the like marijuana companies like fell in that span of time, and I was just like, "Whatever." Like I had no,
I'm
yeah,
surprised any legal department would ever allow that to be news or anything out. That's crazy.
it was crazy. Canopy Holdings, or no, no, what was it called? Canna Holdings, Canna Holdings.
Ken Holdings does sound familiar.
I don't remember what the ticker was, but I feel like it was like on the I bought it on Fidelity, I believe, but then I think it went to the OTC market. They tried to make a comeback. It was like Lucky Stock. It was around the same time Lucky Coffee, um, a long time ago, like in the terms of the stock industry. But it was annoying. Lucid was definitely my biggest financial one, and also I was the LucidVerse. Like if I was the Sofi verse, it would be a little bit better because or Palantir verse. Like I had to go with Lucid because I liked just like spacey things, and I was like, wow, this is cool. But before that, it was also I liked Virgin Galactic. I thought what they promised was pretty cool. I actually ended up making money on them. I did not lose money, which was really cool because that was not a time when I was making a lot of money. Like from or back then it was, but now looking back, it was that was the time where I was making money. But um, Virgin Galactic did not do what I thought it was going to do. I'm glad I'm not in, but it did not do what I thought it was going to do. They were supposed to do like the remake of the Concorde and all of these things, and when when we would watch these flights go up, and it was um, Richard Branson and the guy from Star Trek, or like everybody was so excited, and then I haven't heard anything about them in years. But do you remember how much hype they got for that? Like there was so
Yep.
much hype.
I actually still
And
cover it under my other channel.
that's awesome.
I
What
never
do you
say
think about it?
buying though. I usually just bash them. They're sub a
Okay.
dollar right now.
They're what?
They're sub a dollar.
Oh my God. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
they're gonna get a whole reverse stock split territory, and then yeah, they're screwed.
What about Virgin Orbit? I know he was trying to
Oh,
create
they
that
went
too.
belly up.
Okay. That's crazy.
I think beginning of 2023, mid.
Wow.
So yeah, or am I? No, yeah, it was 2023. So yeah, they went belly up, and yeah, it's just I feel like a lot of stocks are just sometimes too early, or just like if these companies would have started at the same time as Tesla when interest rates were virtually zero,
Mhm.
then yeah. But this last COVID really screwed a lot of companies, and same with interest rates. They just growth can't really happen at these levels logically.
Sure.
Um, it's just a very difficult scenario. But yeah,
Yeah, the interest rates, that's also one of the things that I know to bring this back, but that's one of the things that I like about Lucid or liked about Lucid theoretically. Like the PIF had so much money. They're making $1 billion. They still are. They're making $1 billion a day, and they're spending money like they don't know how to like where to put it at the end of the day. It's just like if it's gonna be sitting over there, might as well buy, $1 billion soccer player contracts. I mean, it was insane how much money was going to be put into Lucid. I mean, they continue to do that. Like the 50,000 vehicle order, the 100,000 vehicle order, like that made the stock price go down. Like, what other company is going to sell 100,000 vehicles when no one was saying, like, everyone was saying, oh, they're not going to get to 30,000 reservations. And then it said 130,000 reservations, and people are like, no one cares. It was just like such a strange time when like good news was bad news. And SoFi was $17 when they got bank charter. They're way less than that, and everybody was waiting for bank charter. It wasn't baked in either. It was like $24 when there was a rumor of bank charter. So it was crazy. Like I going back to those times, it's actually like fun to think because you could not tell any of those investors like what it was going to be in 3 years. No, everybody would have been like, "You're crazy." Like SoFi is not going to be at like I don't know what it is, but probably under $15. Like there's no way SoFi is going to be under $15 or Lucid's under 5. Like Palantir's the one that's up, even though they were like um I
yeah,
started buying,
they're
yeah, but Palantir was like an $8 buy for me, and then I started to like Lucid, so I like bought a very small amount of like Palantir from like $8 to $13, and then never again. And it's like that's the one that went up. It's like what the heck, but it's just like it's funny how it works because you like Palantir too. I mean, it was a good company. Alex Karp is actually the person that needed to be Lucid's CEO. He needed to be the person that went up against Elon. Peter Rollins can't go up against Elon. Peter Rollins needs to go up against like Warren Buffett. Like he needs like a chill guy that's just gonna let him like, okay, you can have the runway. It's your turn. Like no, Peter Rollins wasn't gonna win a boxing match for most people. Like he did not like Elon Musk was funny with the meme stuff with Peter Rollins because he could care less, and it kind of showed. So I always thought that was like interesting too. Alex Karp was a great CEO for a evil organization, and like not evil, but I'm just like he could be Gru from Despicable Me if he wanted to, but he's not. He chooses like to work with you. Like he chooses the right things, I guess, in the mind of investors. And I feel like in the mind of some people in Lucid, it's like Peter Rollins didn't do that. So it's just like interesting to go back.
yeah. If only we can go back in time.
I mean, I probably would do the same thing. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was missing out on the signs then, and I probably would have done the same thing now, just because um, like hindsight's 2020. But the growth stocks when we thought when we thought the market crashed, that was only like 20% of the crash. it was unforeseen what was going to happen. And then there was just war on war and then random stuff in between. It was just like, well, that it does make sense why everything crashed, but it was a good lesson learned. At the end of the day, like there's just so much to be learned on the stock market, and you would need to read like so many books to really understand everybody's like mistakes and lessons that they learned. So it's just like you got to take everything you see with a grain of salt, but if you want to learn the stocks, you also are trying to take everything people say for like what it is. It's a very hard line. It's very hard in the financial industry because everybody wants to be richer than everybody else, but you're all fighting each other, and nobody really wants to give you the secret sauce or you have to pay like a subscription. But if somebody is selling a subscription, they probably don't have the money that they're saying that they do. So it's like it's so weird. Like everybody wants to learn financial education. Like that was literally the account you were learning from, like financial education. And it's such a hard, like to say financial journey, it's such a hard journey to literally learn what you need to learn to become financially free. But there's not a lot of people that know the answers, and the people that are talking, like they don't know the answers either. So it's just like a fine line. Even the insiders don't know, because if they do know, they would have inside information, and then they can't bet, so they're not going to tell you anyway. So it's just like there's so many things. Like in this stock market, you don't have to get lucky to get rich quick, but you really do. Like you have to pick the right company, like PayPal with Peter Thiel. He got it like under $1 and put $6,000 into a Roth IRA, so he made like millions of dollars tax free. Like, how did he do that? Like, how do I do that? Like, it's just like that's a lotto ticket. I don't know how he did that, but he did, and it's just like one of those things. Like, I wish Sofi would have done that, but it didn't. But it's like these are good companies. If you worked there, you'd be proud of the work you were doing. But sometimes the market doesn't see it like that. So, yeah.
Very well said.
Thank you.
So Anthony, I appreciate you coming on. I
Thanks.
love our chats. Kind of random. We talk about absolutely everything,
Yeah.
whatever floats our boat. It's awesome. So yeah, I'll definitely have you on again. I think their earnings is right around the corner. I believe it was slated for May the 6th. So maybe I'll have you on after their earnings, and then we can kind of reevaluate, just go over some of the recent updates. I can fill you in. And because I think the good thing about you is you're not really paying attention to a lot of the day-to-day activities. So you're kind of a fresh sponge. So I can bounce some ideas off of you and get your
Yeah.
honest reaction. So so maybe I'll have you on right after their earnings. So Anthony, appreciate you jumping on.
Of
And
course.
yeah,
Like,
oh,
subscribe to Financial Journey. I mean, this guy, he gets it. He gets it. It's in the name. So thank you. Thanks
it's
for
in the
having me on.
name. Exactly. Cool. Okay. Have fun, guys. Thanks for watching.